Hey guys, so I just got done watching episode 3 of The Chosen season 4. This was a big one. There was going to be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, please go watch the episode first, then come back to this video because you don't want to be spoiled from some of the things I'm going to say here. But the basic crux of this episode is that Jesus is, planning to basically do another sermon sort of in the open area of the town square of Capernaum. He's there, and at the same time, you have another plot with Thomas and Rama, who are planning to get married, and their love is very much blooming, and they're about to get married. So that's going on. But at the same time, which is established at the beginning, is that Dominus, the Roman leader of the town of Capernaum, is very much at his wit's end with what's going on there. His ledger is in the red now. His reputation is on the line. All of this is happening, and he starts very much lashing out on the people there, trying to demolish their tent city and calling all sorts of curfews and this and that. So he's very much, an animal at this point who does not want to be poked. And so that's kind of what's going on here with the main sort of pieces in play. The main scene, I guess, of the whole episode takes place in this town square where Jesus goes up to a man to heal him who is blind. He does heal him. The witnesses gather around and start to listen to his words. The crowd starts to grow and grow. His disciples are there too. And so the crowd is growing and growing. And then the Pharisees come along and they are upset with Jesus, calling him a blasphemer for doing this on the Sabbath, calling him like a dark magician, whatever. They're calling him all sorts of names. And Jesus is very much pushing back against them. He's not being afraid now to very much lash out and call them out for what they're doing. It's very much the most confrontational we have seen Jesus yet. It was really great to see. But you get all sorts of quotes here from the Bible from this whole scene, talking about the idea of, spitting a gnat to swallow a camel, and the whole kind of metaphor where you got the crowd asking him, do another miracle, show us something else amazing. And that whole scene leads to Jesus, explaining to them, do not come to me just for wondrous things. That's not the way to gain faith and to build your belief in me. You must instead learn from the queen of, I can't remember her name, but the story of a queen who travels all the way to find the wisdom of Solomon. And he's saying that is much more fruitful, much more substantial to your faith and to your belief in him and in God, to seek the wisdom and the words of someone rather than only believing in something because you see wondrous things, because that's not always going to be the case. You need to believe in more than just that. It's very much kind of like the style of a substance scenario that he's talking about here. He wants his followers to believe in the substance of what he's saying rather than just the amazing things that he does that are miracles. So that whole scene is playing out. There's great dialogue there, great moments, everything that's being recreated from the Bible. And there's also tension building with the Pharisees confronting Jesus. The Romans now there trying to keep the peace, and they're worried about how this is playing out. Gaius is there. And then basically they summon Dominus to the scene. That's when, it starts to very much heat up with the crowd getting very chaotic, trampling over one another to get to Jesus, and the disciples having to hold them back. Dominus, pushing through the crowd. And then here's the big spoiler, guys. So if you've been watching this far, but you don't want the spoiler, here it is, tune out. Basically, Dominus is coming through, trying to get to Jesus. Jesus and the disciples are sort of evacuating the area. And then as Thomas and Rama are passing Dominus, they bump into him. And Dominus, as he lashes out, stabs Rama right through the gut and kills her. She dies. And Thomas is there weeping over her, begging Jesus to bring her back to life, to save her, which he does not do. And he says it's basically not her time. And he says, Thomas, I love you, but I cannot do it. And, we know Jesus does what he does, and you trust, we have to trust that that's his greater plan. If there's something greater at work here that he's thinking and believing that is going to happen. So he chooses not to save Raymond. It's a very tragic scene because you've seen the sort of budding love story between Thomas and Raymond, whether it's not in the Bible, I don't believe it is, but anyways, it is still a great storyline that's been happening throughout these seasons of The Chosen. And it's just really sad to see it come to this end, but it's also maybe a necessary moment that needs to happen, not just for Thomas, but for the disciples and Jesus too, to see where they progress from there as characters really in their growth. And so it's a tragic scene, but it is very well executed. The tension builds and builds and builds. You're waiting for something to happen. You don't know, feel like something's going to happen to someone, but you don't know who. There's so many important characters in play here. and then it obviously happens to Raymond. You kind of sort of suspecting it, but also sort of not, and it's a double whammy because one, you know, you love her as a character, she's very sweet, but at the same time, seeing Thomas's, you know, the tragedy for him and his loss and his pain at seeing her dead is, you know, it's a double whammy really, and so it's very sad, but you know, brilliantly executed episode. Very much loving what the show is doing. It's just going from strength to strength, if you ask me, and I'm just can't wait to see the future episodes of this season. And yeah, so another great episode, guys, but a very dark one, a very sad one at the end of it, really. But it had to happen at some time, and there's definitely going to be more to come as we get closer and closer to that fateful day. But yeah, that's my thoughts, guys, on this episode. I really enjoyed it, but it is a very tough one, a very dramatic one. So yeah, that I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.